A new Supreme Court warning is echoing across the country, and most gun owners do not fully understand what it means yet. This is not about dramatic raids or sudden nationwide bans. It is about something far more dangerous for everyday, law-abiding people. Small mistakes, paperwork errors, missed deadlines, misunderstood rules. Under the legal framework now taking shape, those small mistakes can quietly cost you your gun rights. For years, many gun owners believed that as long as they were responsible and nonviolent, the system would protect them. That belief is becoming outdated. The Supreme Court has clarified how lower courts should evaluate gun laws, and that clarification is changing how states regulate, how agencies enforce, and how judges rule. The shift is subtle, but its impact is serious. The most important change is this. Courts are now placing far more weight on process than intent. It no longer matters as much what you meant to do. What matters is whether you followed the required procedures exactly. If you did not, even by accident, the consequences can be severe. The Supreme Court has made it clear that the Second Amendment is a real constitutional right, but it is not unlimited. At the same time, the court emphasized that certain targeted restrictions can coexist with that right when they are tied to due process and historical principles. That combination is what makes the current moment dangerous for uninformed gun owners. States are responding quickly. Instead of passing broad bans that attract instant lawsuits, they are writing laws that look narrow, technical, and reasonable. These laws focus on permits, training, storage, reporting, and administrative findings. On paper, they appear minor. In practice, they create traps. One of the biggest risk areas is permits and licensing. In many states, permits are no longer a one-time hurdle. They require renewals, updated training, fees, and timely submissions. Miss a renewal deadline by a few days, and you may suddenly be in unlawful possession. Carry under an expired permit and what felt like a harmless oversight can turn into a criminal charge. Training requirements are another growing danger. Courts are now more willing to accept training mandates as long as they are framed as safety measures and tied to historical practices. That means states are expanding them. Old certificates may no longer qualify. Courses taken years ago may not count. Owners who assume past compliance protects them are often wrong. Storage laws are also tightening. In several states, improper storage can lead to criminal charges even if no one is harmed. If a firearm is accessed by someone else, especially a minor, the owner can be held responsible. The mistake is often not malicious. It is a lock not used, a container not compliant, or a misunderstanding of what immediate possession legally means. Reporting deadlines have become another silent threat. Lost or stolen firearms must now be reported faster in many jurisdictions. What used to be 72 hours is now 48 in some states. Weekends, work schedules, and stress do not pause the clock. Failing to report on time can itself be a crime, even though you were the victim. Civil court processes now pose serious risks as well. Protective orders, restraining orders, and administrative determinations can trigger firearm prohibitions without any criminal conviction. These proceedings move quickly and rely heavily on paperwork. Miss a hearing, ignore a notice, assume it is temporary or informal. Those choices can instantly change your legal status. The Supreme Court's recent guidance reinforces that when these processes include notice, hearings, and findings, courts will treat them as legitimate grounds for restrictions. That means gun owners must take civil matters just as seriously as criminal ones. Silence and delay are no longer safe options. Another overlooked danger is how enforcement is changing. When legal standards are unclear, enforcement tends to be cautious. When the Supreme Court clarifies those standards, enforcement becomes more confident. Police, prosecutors, and regulators feel safer pushing cases forward. Technical violations that might have been ignored before are now charged. This creates a lag that hurts ordinary people. Many gun owners continue living under assumptions formed years ago, unaware that the legal environment has shifted. By the time enforcement increases, they are already out of compliance. The law does not warn you before it acts. Future court challenges will not necessarily save you. Laws that survive early review often stay in effect for years, while cases move slowly. During that time, arrests happen, charges are filed, money is spent, rights are lost. Even if a law is later struck down, the damage has already been done. The Supreme Court has also signaled that vague labels and broad categories are not enough to justify restrictions. At the same time, it rejected the idea that only identical historical laws count. Courts now focus on justification, scope, and burden. How broad is the rule? How long does it last? Who does it affect? What process does it include? States are designing laws to pass that test. They are crafting rules that look temporary, individualized, and procedural. These laws are harder to challenge quickly and easier to enforce quietly. That is why so many changes now arrive without loud announcements. So what does this mean for gun owners right now? It means awareness is no longer optional. You must know your state's current rules, not last year's rules. You must track renewals, training requirements, and reporting deadlines. You must treat civil court notices as urgent. You must assume that small errors will not be forgiven. This is not about fear. It is about realism. The Supreme Court did not eliminate gun rights. It clarified how they interact with regulation. The clarification raises the cost of ignorance. Small mistakes now carry big consequences. Paperwork matters. Timing matters. Procedure matters. If you own firearms, staying legal requires attention, not assumptions. Understanding this shift is the first step to protecting your rights in the new legal reality. Now let's focus on what you should actually do in this new environment, because understanding the risk is only useful if it changes behavior. The biggest mistake gun owners can make right now is assuming that nothing will happen unless they do something extreme. That assumption is exactly what gets people into trouble. The first adjustment is mindset. Gun ownership today is no longer treated by the system as a passive right that you hold once and forget about. It is treated as an ongoing regulated activity. That means compliance is continuous. You do not finish complying, you maintain it. Start with documentation. Every permit, license, training certificate, purchase record, and storage method should be organized and easy to verify. If you're ever questioned, delayed, or reviewed, confusion works against you. The burden is increasingly on the owner to show compliance, not on the state to prove noncompliance. Next, watch deadlines closely. Renewals are one of the most common ways people lose rights unintentionally. A permit that expires quietly can turn lawful possession into unlawful possession overnight. Mark renewal dates well in advance. Assume delays. Assume processing backlogs. Waiting until the last week is no longer safe. Training is another area that demands attention. Do not assume that old training still qualifies. Laws increasingly require recent approved instruction. If a statute says training must be completed within a specific number of years, courts will enforce that literally. Intent does not matter. Completion dates do. Storage rules also deserve more care than ever. Many people believe they are compliant because they store responsibly. That is not enough. The law often specifies the type of lock, container, or condition required. If a firearm is accessed by someone else, explanations rarely help. Compliance is judged by standards, not by good intentions. Civil court interaction is where many owners underestimate risk. If you receive paperwork related to a protective order, restraining order, or administrative review, treat it as urgent. Do not assume it will resolve itself. Do not assume it is temporary. Do not assume it has no effect on firearm rights. Show up, respond, get clarity. Silence and delay are interpreted as consent to the process moving forward without you. Another practical adjustment involves communication. Text messages, emails, social media posts, and casual statements can now matter more than people expect. When laws focus on risk and findings, words can be used to justify actions. Avoid venting in writing. Avoid explanations that can be misunderstood. Records outlive context. Interactions with law enforcement also require care. Politeness is not protection. Over-explaining is not cooperation. When legal standards tighten, anything you say can become evidence of noncompliance. Know your obligations, fulfill them. Do not volunteer information that is not required. It is also important to understand that enforcement is uneven during transitions. Some jurisdictions act aggressively, others lag behind. Do not assume that because something is ignored in one place, it is safe everywhere. Enforcement patterns change quickly, especially after Supreme Court guidance clarifies legal ground. Another reality is that court challenges are slow. Even if a law seems questionable, relying on future litigation is risky. While cases move through the system, the law remains in effect. People are charged under it. Compliance is enforced under it. Waiting for courts to fix a problem can cost years and resources. This is why preparation matters more than reaction. Adjust before enforcement ramps up, not after. Learn the rules before you are tested by them. Most people who lose rights did not intend to. They were caught unprepared. The Supreme Court did not issue a threat. It issued a clarification. That clarification empowers states to regulate through process and empowers courts to uphold those regulations when procedures are followed. In that environment, small mistakes become expensive. The safest path forward is awareness, organization, and caution. Assume the margin for error is shrinking. Assume paperwork matters. Assume deadlines matter, because under the current legal framework, they do. This is the new reality of gun ownership. Staying informed is now part of staying free.